In this lesson, we're going to be looking at relative frequency graphs. Our objectives are to understand what a relative frequency graph is and to understand how to create a relative frequency graph. Relative frequency graphs are typically dealing with percentages, and a lot of times they're written as pie graphs or pie charts. We also call them circle charts or circle graphs at times too. So the vocabulary is relative frequency graph showing a category compared to the total, usually using percents. These are known as circle or pie charts or graphs. So we're just going to work with a very basic one. What I've got here is, say I had 20 students, and this is how they scored on the test: 4 A's, 8 B's, 5 C's, 2 D's, and an F. We're going to find the relative frequency of this. Well, what we do is we take the frequency divided by the total. So we've got 4 over 20. Then we turn that into a decimal. So we just divide. Divide 8 by 20, divide 5 by 20, divide 2 by 20, and we divide 1 by 20. So those are our decimals. Then we want to turn these into percents. And to turn a decimal into a percent, you just multiply by 100. So we take 0.2 times 100. Take 0.4 times 100. Take 0.25 times 100. Take 0.1 times 100. And 0.05 times 100. So those are all our percents. These give us our relative frequency. The fraction, the decimal, and the percent are all relative frequencies. A lot of times we use the decimals or the percents for a lot of the work that we do. When we do a circle graph, one of the things we need is the degrees, and I'm going to show you how to do that. What we do is we take the decimal times 360, because there's 360 degrees in a circle. So we just multiply all of these. And so now we have this table. Make sure you have this all filled out, as we're now going to use that to make two different relative frequency graphs. One as a bar graph and one as a circle graph. So first we're going to make a bar graph. And for this bar graph, we're going to use relative frequency as our vertical and the grades as our horizontal. So we're going to start with A, which is 20%. We're going to go to B, which is 40%. C is 25%. D, which was 10%. And A, which was 5%. One thing we should always note with relative frequency graphs is if we use percents, they should always add up to 100%. And if we use decimals, it should always add up to 1. Alright, now let's look at the circle graphs. To do the circle graphs, you're going to need a protractor. If you don't have one of these, when you come to class, I'll have extras. So how I always start is I always start with a circle and the radius of the circle. And what we then do is map everything out. So we'll start with the A's. We need 20% is 72 degrees. So we take our protractor and put the line on the base here, and the arrow, or sometimes there's a line here, sometimes there's a dot right at the center. And then we go to 72 degrees, since 0's over here. We go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 72 is right there. And then we just draw that line. So right here is our A, which is 20%. Okay, and then we repeat this for the others. So this time I'm going to start with this radius. So I'm going to turn my protractor, and this time around for B I need 40%, which is 144 degrees. So there's 90, 10, 30, 40. So 44 is about right there. These are our B's, which was 40%. Then we've got our C's, which are 25%. So I'm going to, again, go here. I just keep going around the circle. And I want to go 90 degrees. So that would be right here. Notice I've got that line and starting at the center. So here's 90 degrees. And then I connect. And next I have 10%, and you never have to measure the last one because it should be what's left. So 10% is at 36 degrees, so 0, 10, 20, 30, 36 right there. And just connect the dots. Alright, so this has been looking into how to make relative frequency graphs. If there's any part of this that you didn't quite get or you need to watch again, make sure you pause, rewind, and rewatch, and bring any questions to class. I recommend that you rewatch the circle graph being made, as that can be tricky, but once you get practice at it, it becomes a lot easier. Thank you.